Welcome to Bittersweet Science. I'm Jim Mellen, and I hope you enjoy boxing with me. Today's topic 3, is on boxing coaches. Now, from the day of your first boxing lesson, all the way up through at least the higher levels of amateur boxing, and probably through the lower levels of professional boxing, and possibly the mid-range levels of professional boxing, the most important thing you need to look for in a boxing coach is a coach that can teach the fundamentals of boxing from both sides, southpaw and orthodox, along with being able to do a good punch mitt, or focus gloves as I call them, routine from both sides. It's also important that you have your coach have you miss a lot of punches, because you will miss a lot of punches in reality. And you need to know what it's like to be off balance and how to adjust to that, and also the fatigue that comes from missing punches. I don't see any coaches doing this. When you see the Mayweathers do their focus glove routine, that's on the highest level. It's unnecessary. It's just warming up and showing off. On the highest levels, it's all about sparring and your bouts. Coaching has hardly anything to do with it except setting you up with good sparring partners and getting the bouts for you. And of course, having a personality that you can get along with. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Getting back to the fundamentals, they're important for all of us, even though in boxing they're less important than in other sports, because there are a lot of ways to win in boxing, whereas in other sports, if you don't have the fundamentals down, you can forget it. So they're important to all of us except those that are genetically endowed, like, in my opinion, the greatest, Muhammad Ali, Roy Jones Jr., and Floyd Mayweather Jr., to name a few. These people can break the fundamentals and get away with it. Like Angelo Dundee said about Cassius Clay, of course, before he changed his name to Muhammad Ali, I never taught him anything. He never did one thing I told him to do. I inherited a champion. That's a problem that is prevalent, or at least a situation that is prevalent on the professional level. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. For us, for the average person, you need the fundamentals. Now, you also need a trainer, either the boxing coach being the trainer, if that person knows what to do, or a specific trainer that works along with the boxing coach that understands the 4 energy systems: ATP, CP, anaerobic, and aerobic, as far as how to train a fighter, and the difference between what people call sport-specific and what I call energy system specific, because they're not the same. If something is sport-specific, it is also energy system specific. But if something is energy system specific, it doesn't necessarily mean it's sport specific. A good comparison of that would be running intervals on the track are anaerobic, just like in boxing, so they are energy system specific, but they are not sport specific, because in boxing you don't run like that. You throw punches and move around. So I have my boxers actually do both, but the intervals on the heavy bag are sport specific. The intervals on the track are just energy system specific. You need a coach that knows that. You need, or a trainer that works with the coach. You need a trainer that understands when you're starting out, 8 years old, going on up through the pros, the different lengths of the rounds, 1 minute, 1.5, 2, 3 as pros, different rounds all the way up to 12, from 3 in the amateurs, starting out in pros is 4, and going all the way up 5 to 12, and how to train someone specifically for the bout he's or she's going to be participating in. So they're able to adjust to any and every level that they're at the time they're competing. Now, that being said, a lot of coaches don't know how to do that. They don't have trainers that can do that. And this kind of gets to the point where you're on the high levels of amateur boxing, the Olympics, and this is something that always has bothered me. This is a problem in the Olympic coaches too, which I never liked, that the Olympic coaches inherited boxers that were trained by coaches that were better than the Olympic coaches, but they had to surrender their boxers once they made it to the Olympics because the Olympic coaches took over. No offense to the Olympic coaches, but they're not as good. There's politics involved, and their record speaks for themselves, for itself, because we have been very unsuccessful. The Olympic coaches aren't as good as the regular coaches who brought them to that level, the boxers to that level. They don't know the boxer as well as the regular coaches do, and the boxer isn't as comfortable with the coach in the Olympics as he or she is with, well, just he for the Olympics, as he is with his boxing coach, his regular boxing coach. They're always calling home, asking questions about certain things between sparring sessions and bouts. But what it comes down to is the Olympic coaches inherit the work done by thousands of trainers who are just as good or better than those coaches and better than the professional coaches, which brings me to the highest level. When you get to the highest level in professional boxing, the coaching aspect of it is out the window. You need to find, if you're going to be on the high levels of professional boxing, a coach that has access to good sparring and contacts for the right bouts at the right time. And of course, the third thing is a personality that can get along with yours. Because when you get to the highest levels, the coaching has nothing to do with it. There are thousands of coaches out there, unnamed coaches, no name, non-famous coaches, like for instance, Kelly Pavlik's trainer, Winky Wright's trainer, Joe Kawasaki's trainer, to name just a few. Joe Kawasaki was trained by his dad. They're as good, if not better, than the famous trainers that you always hear about, Emmanuel Stewart, Buddy McGirt, Teddy Atlas, Freddie Roach. Nothing against those trainers. They do a good job, but they're no better than thousands of trainers all over the world. Those trainers just haven't inherited a champion as of yet. When Pacquiao was in the Philippines, everybody knew. Everybody that saw Pacquiao when he was in the Philippines knew he was already a champion. It was just who was going to inherit him and have the personality to work with him. Who had the sparring partners, who had the contacts for the bouts, and it turned out to be Freddie Roach. So that was a good thing that he did, as far as he jumped at it, and he got there before other coaches did. But make no mistake about it, these other trainers are the ones who brought these boxers to that level, to where anyone could have inherited that boxer, whatever the boxer was at, as far as maybe a little bit higher level or a little bit lower, but they were already a champion. They had the fundamentals down. All they needed was sparring and contacts for the bouts. But if you're starting out, you need someone with access to good sparring and contacts for the right bouts. Even though they're no better than thousands of other trainers out there as far as coaching, and a lot of other coaches are better actually because they got into the higher level. At that point, those coaches can't do any more for them. Only the coaches with the sparring partners and the contacts for the proper bouts at a certain time in the boxer's career, only those coaches can really help you at that level. Unless you want to wait, and I respect you if you can, and remain loyal to the coach that got you there, because that coach is the one that really is the coach of the champion, not the one who inherits that champion. It's just that the other coach that takes over that boxer has the politics to connect the boxer to be successful. And so if you don't want to wait, you need to get with someone who's got the sparring partners and the contacts for the bouts to be successful as soon as possible. But if you wait, you're still going to be successful because you've already gotten to the high level from the coach that brought you to the dance, because those coaches are as good, if not better, than the top name coaches that we always hear about. That's the way I see it. You can take it or leave it. I'm Jim Mellen, and I hope you enjoyed boxing with me.